A Warcraft movie is closer to happening than ever before. Paramount, now run by the son of Larry Ellison, the second richest man on Earth, has already secured the rights to Call of Duty from Activision, and insiders claim Warcraft could be the next acquisition. But what form will it take? A brand new beginning? A sequel to the 2016 adaptation? Or a careful reboot that reshapes the canon? No one knows yet, so drop your theory in the comments. Over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the full saga of one of the most visually rich and fan-favorite universes ever built. If you've never touched Warcraft, this will give you everything you need to understand its foundation. And if you've been around for years, expect to rediscover details you probably left buried somewhere in your memory. Because let's be honest, you've forgotten something. And when a moment sounds like perfect cinema material, pause the video and share that timestamp below. Hi everyone, this is Lord of Leaks. Subscribe, leave a like, let's dive in. We begin at the origin of everything. Warcraft resonates with so many people because its mysteries feel familiar. Just like in our world, no one can fully explain how existence began, even though cosmic beings like Menethil, ancient beyond comprehension, still wander the stars. The dominant myth speaks of a cosmic explosion, not of matter, but of opposing forces. Light collided with the void. That void, sometimes simply called by its untranslated name, represents absolute darkness. From their violent meeting came the endless expanse known as the Great Dark, and with it the first entities. Accounts vary depending on the source, but most agree that the earliest powers included the Titans, Void Lords, demons, elemental chaos, the radiant Naru, and the old gods. Yet every culture tells it differently. The Twilight's Hammer cult insists the old gods predate everything, Titans included. Night Elves credit Elune. Tauren revere the Earth Mother. Human priests in Northshire often preach of a singular divine force. Entire libraries are dedicated to these interpretations. The important part is this. From that point onward, the broad strokes align. Fragments of light and void spread through reality, battling for dominance. Menethil led the champions of light, searching the universe for slumbering titans forming inside planetary cores. He awakened them and united them into a pantheon. Together, they reshaped worlds, seeded life, and experimented with civilizations. Fun fact, the concept of planetary titans later appeared in Marvel's Eternals. In the original comics, Celestials had a different origin, but the cinematic version strongly echoes Warcraft's cosmology. Opposing the Titans were demons, old gods, and countless unspeakable horrors who sought to drain worlds of energy, enslave intelligent species, and cast rebels into eternal oblivion. And not everyone stayed loyal. Kil'jaeden, a high-ranking demon, expressed regret at the moment of his defeat and was granted forgiveness. On the other side stood Sargeras, among the first Titans, brother to Menethil, and once a defender of cosmic order. He annihilated demons by the billions. To contain them, he forged the prison realm of Mardom, locking away threats for ages beyond counting. But endless war broke him. Convinced that corruption could never truly be contained, Sargeras reached a devastating conclusion. The only way to stop the darkness was to erase all life. From that belief emerged the Burning Legion, a new power reshaping the cosmic balance. Sargeras shattered the physical forms of the Titans, though their spirits endured. Since then, an endless struggle of opposing forces has dragged on across eternity. Azeroth may seem like a single world among many, but it holds something unique. Deep within it grows a Titan soul, prophesied to surpass all others in strength. Sargeras, once the mightiest, cannot allow that to happen. For ages, he has sought to conquer Azeroth, launching invasions through the Legion. And now, in World of Warcraft, that ancient conflict approaches its peak. The sleeping Titan will awaken, Sargeras will unveil his final design, and we may finally learn how this cosmic war concludes. There's still a chance that Sargeras could be reframed as something closer to a savior rather than a villain. His pursuit of Azeroth and the Titan growing within it is not random. He believes the old gods and the Void's masters have already tainted the unborn Titan's essence. If that Titan awakens corrupted, its power would be beyond control. and with strength on that scale, no force in existence could stand against it. From that angle, Sargeras isn't merely a fallen hero. He represents an entirely separate path, a third ideology despised by both light and void alike. His domain is the Twisting Nether, one of the most crucial realms in Warcraft's cosmology. It once occupied a space between opposing cosmic forces, but after the primordial explosion, it was torn away from material reality. Today, it exists as a chaotic astral dimension bridging worlds. It is the birthplace of fell energy, and when demons fall in battle, their spirits are drawn back there. Sustained by volatile magic, they regenerate within its unstable currents. Time behaves unpredictably inside the Nether, and perception varies from one observer to another. Essentially, it functions as the franchise's version of a cosmic abyss. That said, it is not the same as the realm of the dead. Beyond the Nether lies the Shadowlands, where mortal souls travel after death. Separate domains also exist for pure light and for the void, though their mysteries remain largely unexplored. But let's shift to the centerpiece of this saga, Azeroth itself. Among countless worlds, Azeroth stands out because the Titans shaped it personally. In its earliest age, it lay under the influence of darkness. The Titans overthrew the old gods, expelled demonic forces, and remade the world into something thriving and beautiful. Yet once they left, corruption slowly began creeping back. The elemental rulers, Ragnaros, Therazane, Alakir, Neptulon, and old gods like Cthulhu, Yogg-Saron, and N'Zoth continually schemed to bend Azeroth and its hidden titan toward their will. Even the Titan-forged beings were not spared. The old gods afflicted them with the curse of flesh. Originally constructed from stone and metal, these guardians were designed for resilience. The curse reshaped them into mortal forms. Watchers became Vrikul, and over time, humans. Mechagnomes evolved into gnomes. Earthen became dwarves. Though their physical durability faded, traces remain in racial traits within the game. These peoples are therefore both engineered and corrupted, crafted by titans, altered by ancient horrors. The earliest natural inhabitants of Azeroth, however, were elementals, dragons, and trolls, not Tauren, not Worgen, and certainly not elves. Elves are comparatively young, even younger than humanity. Before the Titans intervened, proto-dragons ruled the skies. So impressed were the Titans that they elevated several into dragon aspects: Neltharion, Malygos, Nosdormu, Ysera, and Alexstrasza, guardians bound to the planet's fate. The elementals fell under old gods' domination, forced into servitude. Trolls, meanwhile, established the first great civilization. The Zandalari gave rise to every troll tribe, and indirectly to the elves themselves. Those elves were once trolls living near the Well of Eternity, a source of immense arcane power linked to the sleeping Titan's core. Prolonged exposure transformed them. They grew stronger, more refined in appearance, nearly immortal, and masters of magic. But their obsession with arcane energy sent a beacon into the stars, one that Sargeras detected. Normally, reaching Azeroth would have required ages of travel. This time, the invitation came directly. The highborn elite, fueled by limitless magical reserves, needed only encouragement to open a portal. Seduced by promises of supremacy, Queen Ashara complied. That decision ignited the War of the Ancients, an event immortalized in novels and countless quests. During that war, Azeroth's defenders faced the Burning Legion under Archimonde, Manoros, and other commanders. Emerging as a central figure was Malfurion Stormrage, a druid of immense power who combined battlefield strength with the diplomacy necessary to unite divided factions against annihilation. That detail mattered because the early elves were fiercely intolerant of outsiders. They could coexist with dragons and divine beings, but when Tauren, dwarves, and furbolgs marched in as allies, outrage followed. Some elves openly declared they would rather see the world collapse than fight alongside races they considered inferior. The seeds of internal fracture were already planted, not only among the elves, but across Azeroth itself. Yes, the demons were ultimately repelled, but victory came at a devastating price. The first catastrophe centered on Neltharion, the Earth aspect empowered by the Titans. Seeking ultimate victory, he forged a weapon later known as the Dragon Soul, and persuaded the other dragon aspects to invest their power into it. Corrupted by the old god Nezoth, Neltharion unleashed that weapon indiscriminately. Dragons fell in such numbers that their species never fully regained its former dominance. Neltharion vanished afterward, re-emerging later under a name that would echo through history, Deathwing. But that is for later. The second tragedy involved Illidan Stormrage, Malfurion's brother. Driven by both vengeance against demons and his unrequited love for Tyrande, Illidan crossed dangerous lines. He helped defeat major demonic leaders, manipulated Sargeras himself, and uncovered the secret to sealing the portal. Yet he refused to accept the elves' decision to outlaw arcane magic. Believing that magic had been crucial to their survival, Illidan preserved it by stealing water from the Well of Eternity to form a new source. His motives were protective, but his actions were condemned. When he began channeling demonic energy to strengthen himself against future invasions, distrust hardened into fear. Acting as a covert agent within the Legion's ranks, Illidan had witnessed the scale of the threat firsthand. Exile, he believed, would never be enough. He wanted Azeroth prepared, even if that meant becoming something feared. No half measures, he would later say. The elves answered by imprisoning him for 10,000 years. Just as Deathwing's story was far from over, so too was Illidan's. But at that time, the elves made a drastic choice. If the well empowered the gateway, then the well had to be destroyed. Its destruction caused the Great Sundering, splitting the original continent into scattered lands. Kalimdor remained in the west. The eastern lands became known simply as Azeroth. Other regions would emerge in lore over time: Northrend, Cosmodan, the Broken Isles, Lordaeron, Pandaria. The Legion retreated, vowing revenge. Azeroth experienced a fragile peace, yet unity among the elves shattered. Not everyone accepted the abandonment of magic. A faction secretly preserved remnants of the well and journeyed east. There, they founded Quel'Thalas, adopting the name High Elves. Over generations, their appearance shifted, their skin lightened. In-universe explanations cite constant exposure to arcane forces and a complete reversal of their daily rhythms. Unlike their night elf kin, who rest during the day and serve Elune beneath the moon, the High Elves embraced sunlight and reshaped both their culture and biology. South of the Elven lands, the Vrykul afflicted by the curse of flesh gradually became humans, and they did not remain insignificant for long. Alterac, Dalaran, Gilneas, Kultiras, Lordaeron, Stormwind, and Stromgarde, human civilization flourished through powerful kingdoms and immense wealth. Their relationship with the High Elves was not hostile either. In fact, they were allies. In many post-Soviet countries, Warcraft 3 and the Burning Crusade shaped the perception that Pale Blood Elves were always Horde members. But in canon, that alignment is relatively recent. For centuries after the Sundering, High Elves and humans worked side by side, so closely that the elves entrusted them with arcane knowledge. The catalyst was war against the Trolls. The Amani Trolls, among Azeroth's most ancient peoples and ancestral to elves, had once ruled vast territories. But with High Elves pressing from one side and humans expanding from another, conflict became unavoidable. Troll governance did little to ease tensions. Humans and elves united and crushed the Amani forces, pushing survivors westward toward Kalimdor. It was during this alliance that select humans were trained in magic. Dalaran rose as a center of arcane study, and magical practice spread to dwarves and gnomes, traditional allies of humankind.
This coalition formed the earliest version of what history would remember as the Alliance. Then came a threat unlike any before. As Sargeras consumed world after world, his gaze fell upon Draenor, home to both orcs and Draenei, who had once lived in relative peace. Promises of glory and prosperity seduced Ner'zhul into war against the Draenei. Gul'dan went further, forging a pact that infused the orcs with fell power. They became unstoppable and increasingly savage. All that was needed was a bridge between worlds. Medivh, heir to Aegwynn, who had once defeated Sargeras' avatar, unknowingly became that bridge. Though he appeared an ordinary mage and mentor to Khadgar, corruption had been seeded into his bloodline long before. Sargeras' influence culminated in the opening of the Dark Portal. The First War erupted. Orc armies flooded Azeroth. Many were not corrupted by choice. Draenor's collapse left them desperate. Desertion meant death. Stormwind was raised. Human territories in the south fell. Refugees fled to Lordaeron. The Horde's momentum carried into the Second War. Under Orgrim Doomhammer, northern campaigns intensified. The Amani trolls joined in revenge. At Blackrock Mountain, Anduin Lothar fell in battle. It seemed final, but Turalion rose, defeated Doomhammer, and rallied the Alliance. The Horde was driven back to the portal, which Khadgar ultimately sealed. Orcs were imprisoned and broken, yet their defeat was not solely external. Gul'dan's obsession with the tomb of Sargeras pulled forces away at a crucial moment. Determined to end the threat, the Alliance invaded Draenor. Khadgar disrupted Ner'zhul's portal rituals, but the resulting instability tore Draenor apart. It became the fractured realm known as Outland. Ner'zhul's punishment was eternal bondage, transformed into the Lich King, bound to the frozen throne in Northrend. Through this new vessel, the Legion adapted its strategy. The Scourge, an army of undead, began spreading terror across Azeroth's kingdoms. The Third Great War erupted, but this time the battlefield looked different. Horde and Alliance were no longer enemies. Survival forced them into cooperation. Thrall, young yet remarkably clear-minded and untouched by fell corruption, had already led many orcs out of human camps, across the sea and into Kalandor, where Durotar was founded. New allies gathered around them. At the same time, tragedy unfolded in Lordaeron. Arthas Menethil, once a shining paladin and prince, embraced the same ruthless philosophy as Illidan: no compromises. But where Illidan walked a morally gray line, Arthas fell straight into darkness. Manipulated by Ner'zhul, who twisted his own imprisonment into a long game of control, Arthas became a Death Knight. He razed Stratham, shattered Lordaeron, and ultimately merged with Ner'zhul to claim the mantle of the Lich King. The High Elves suffered nearly total annihilation, and their sacred Sunwell was defiled to restore Kel'Thuzadad. From that devastation emerged the Blood Elves, led by Kael'thas, survivors consumed by grief and anger. The corrupted Sunwell fueled undeath, yet not all who rose served the Lich King. Some broke free, even aligning with the Horde to battle the Scourge. Illidan's assault on the frozen throne further weakened the Lich King's grip, though it left Illidan wounded by Frostmourne. He retreated to Outland, bringing loyal Blood Elves with him. The defining confrontation of the war took place at Mount Hyjal. Horde and Alliance united against Archimonde and the Legion's forces. Malfurion, Cenarius, and the dragon aspects intervened once more, ensuring Archimonde's destruction. Arthas withdrew, and a fragile equilibrium settled over Azeroth. The saga then unfolded within World of Warcraft itself. The Legion returned through reopened gateways, but this time Azeroth struck first. Campaigns into Outland dismantled demonic strongholds and ended Illidan's rule, though history would later reconsider his motives. United again, Horde and Alliance marched into Northrend and dethroned Arthas. A new Lich King assumed the burden, stabilizing the Scourge. Soon after, Deathwing's emergence shattered the world. The cataclysm reshaped continents and skies alike. Corrupted by old gods, the once noble aspect was defeated by heroes empowered alongside the remaining aspects. From that point, many fans argued the narrative drifted. Pandaria surfaced unexpectedly. Alternate timelines and parallel realities complicated the mythos. Eventually, the focus returned to its core conflict, Sargeras, the Legion, and the Titan gestating within Azeroth. Each faction now has its own goal. The old gods seek corruption, Sargeras seeks annihilation, Horde and Alliance seek redemption, hoping the Titan might become their ultimate safeguard. As longtime players can attest, recent expansions have restored narrative focus, reconnecting with Warcraft's foundational themes. The experience feels less like obligation and more like adventure again, especially as the overarching Titan storyline approaches its climax. If you want another Warcraft film, make sure Blizzard hears it. Support the channel if you'd like, through membership or crypto, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. The next video is already on the way.